I'm here to speak about how listening can be used as a doorway to social change. As an Arab girl growing up in Jaffa, I was surrounded by strong women and rich cultural heritage. There was beauty in our community, warmth, resilience, deep roots. But beneath the surface, there were also unspoken rules and limiting norms. As women, we were often expected to adapt, to compromise, to stay within the lines. On top of that, as part of a minority group in my country, our voices were often not welcome on a national scale. This environment, both culturally and systemically, shaped me. And over time, I came to understand the price of not speaking up. My needs were overlooked before they were even voiced. Whether it was during my social work studies or later on team meetings at work, I often found myself unable to speak up, even if I had something to say. However, I never stopped listening to my inner voice. It was this deep listening that made me realize a revolution was needed. Not the kind of revolution most people imagine, with loud speeches and bold slogans. My revolution begins with listening, not as a psychologist or a friend, but as a practice I call change-making listening. As a woman, I wanted to understand why my voice was absent in the public space. Were there other women who felt like me? This question burned inside me and led me to study a master's degree in social work with a focus on gender. And there I began to learn about the deep structures, social, economic, cultural, political, that shape women's lives in every sphere. I realized it wasn't my voice that was unheard. These structures affect women's voices across all backgrounds. And this understanding made me explore deeper. If I, as a privileged woman in a respected profession, struggle to be heard, what about those who are less privileged? Women without an education, who may face poverty, violence, or exclusion. After finishing my master's, I felt I wanted to do something to help women who needed to be heard. I worked with young Arab girls at risk in Jaffa. And one day, a woman walked in. She was in her 30s. This happened 20 years ago, and I still can remember her clearly. She looked tired and dim, and more than anything, wrapped in loneliness. With a voice barely above a whisper, she asked, "Could I come in too?" I didn't know what to say. This place was meant for girls, not women. I had to turn her away. I went home thinking of her with a heavy heart and asked myself, why isn't there a safe place for women like her who want company and support? My first step was research. So I learned women's organization, both in my region and overseas. This gave me a broad perspective, but it wasn't enough. I wanted to understand the real lived experience of women in my own community. So I went back to the field. I met women in local community centers, and I listened. I spoke to my mother and to her friends, and I listened. I didn't realize it then, but this would become the base of my change-making routine, starting with research, then stepping into the field where real voices emerge. I became aware of the different needs. One woman wanted guidance. Another woman wanted to learn. A third just wanted a space to share her challenges without judgment. So I thought to myself, what if I create a space where all these women could come to be heard and have their needs met? I shared my idea with people in the community and in the municipality. Some were supportive, others dismissed it. I listened to all the different external voices, but mostly I listened to my inner voice that said, do more, push harder. These women need you. So this is how my first initiative, Arous Elbahar, was born. Arous Elbahar, Bride of the Sea in Arabic. A women's center, a small house that still operates until this day in Jaffa. What made Arous Elbahar unique was that we didn't just open a center and step back. We were present there every day, building together projects based on their voices, needs, and hopes, such as empowerment circles of reflection and leadership, community activism, and campaigns that raise awareness to social taboos such as early marriage and domestic violence. When initiatives ask, what can we do for them? In Arous Elbahar, we ask a different question. What would they do if they only had the tools, the support, and the platform to speak up? As I kept listening to the women who came regularly to Arous Elbahar, I began to hear new voices, not just voices of survival, but of aspiration. And this inner voice inside me, familiar by now, insisted, don't stop now, push forward. I wanted to learn how to promote employment and social initiatives within the center. So with this vision, while still managing Arous Elbahar, I returned to university, and this time for a master's degree in business. And by applying the business model I had learned, we co-created income-generating initiatives built on the women's talents, such as a doll-making project that put earnings directly in their hands. From that vision, I gave birth to a bigger dream, the Yaffa, a cultural hospitality house in the heart of Jaffa, where groups from all over the world came to be hosted by Arab women. And I'm proud to say that every experience or every part of the experience, a hospitality, from the hostess to the cooks, lecturers, artists, was led entirely by Arab women from Jaffa. The visitors tasted traditional food. They listened to local poetry, heard personal stories. And since they wanted to hear about us, about the Yaffa, something unexpected happened. I found myself, me, the same woman that once couldn't raise her hand in a university seminar, standing in front of 80 guests, sharing my story and my journey to found this place. Looking back, I realized how powerful that was. I was reclaiming my voice as an Arab woman who is proud of her rich and colorful culture that has been overlooked for far too long. And it still amazes me that speaking up led me to share my voice in a way I never imagined, like standing here on the TEDx stage in front of thousands of people. If you would have told me that even 5 years ago, I would have laughed. But still, here I am, proof that even the quietest voice can rise when it's given a space to grow. And then everything stopped. Just as the Yaffa was gaining momentum, the world changed. COVID hit, lockdowns began, no doubt a huge global crisis. But in addition, for me, a private crisis was unfolding in my home. My husband was diagnosed with cancer. We entered a long and painful journey of treatments, of hope, and setbacks. At first, I kept fighting on all fronts, at home and at the Yaffa. But then, in the middle of the crisis and the chaos, I heard something else, my inner voice. And for the first time, it didn't say, do more, fight harder. It said, pause and take care of yourself. So I listened. I decided to let go of the Yaffa. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. But even in closure, the Yaffa left a legacy. It gave women more than a voice, but a practical stepping stone into the world of work, and gave me comfort in time like that. Still, dealing with the loss of the Yaffa and my husband's illness, I needed something to ground me. If you followed my journey, this won't surprise you. Whenever I face challenges, I look for solid ground in learning and understanding. To study women's realities, I studied social work. To open opportunities for them, I studied business. And when a deep personal crisis hit, I completed the trilogy with a third master's degree, and this time in disaster management. And ironically, as I was learning about trauma, crisis, and resilience, my beloved husband, who fought until the very end, passed away late last year, just days after I finished my final exam. In the middle of deep personal pain, I made a choice. That has been a pattern by now, to take my pain and meet others in theirs. Today, I work with Arab families who have lost loved ones to violence, to suicide, or road accidents. I sit with them not to fix their pain, but to listen, to hold their grief and their disappointments in the system that failed them. Together, we ask what must change so that their voices are finally recognized. I don't come with ready-made solutions. I come to practice what I call change-making listening. And here is my invitation to you. First, find a topic. It could be cultural, social, economic, one that feels meaningful to you. Then, learn it deeply. And don't worry, you don't need to rush to academia to collect degrees. Just gather stories, data, and context until you begin to see the bigger picture and the hidden patterns. Then, step into the physical spaces where those you want to learn about are, and listen, not only to what is said, but also to what remains unsaid. In other words, pay attention to the silences, to what is missing, to where systems fall short. From that place of deep listening, create spaces where people can be heard, reclaim their voice and their power. That's when unspoken needs turn into collective change. And remember that social change doesn't always start with a lot of noise. Sometimes it starts with a small voice that refuses to stay silent. Thank you.